Terry, tell me what all this is about.
Well, it's to celebrate, to commemorate Richard Crosbies' first manned flight in Ireland, which happened 225 years ago.
And what have you planned on the day?
To recreate and to celebrate this event by having a balloon flight.
How important is the whole concept of Crosby to Ranelagh?
Well, this was the most exciting event to ever happen in the social life of Ranelagh by far. It was perhaps main event of the year, socially and historically in Ireland of that year. It drew record crowds here to Ranelagh Gardens, and we are delighted to be associated. Crosby is the symbol, and his balloon are the symbols of the Ranelagh Arts Festival, and we hope that this is an omen for the success of Ranelagh Arts Festival and the success of the commercial and social and artistic life here in Ranelagh, and need I say, in this great city of Dublin and in Ireland.
Bryan, tell me something about what Ranelagh Gardens was like back in the time of Crosby.
Well, it was a great centre of leisure and entertainment. It was one of Dublin's pleasure gardens, and on that day in January 1785 there were about 20,000 people or 30,000 people here waiting for the big event, which was anticipated for months and months. It was much later than Crosby had anticipated himself, but at about 2:30 that day he finally got off and away. His first job was to generate hydrogen, because it was a hydrogen balloon, so he needed sulfuric acid and he needed iron and water, and all of that went on here on the ground. Very dangerous process, so that in itself caused a lot of problems. And as the day went on, of course, the crowd were getting a little bit restive, you know. They'd been there since 10 o'clock in the morning waiting for this big event, so he was under a lot of pressure.
Tell me, what do you know about Crosby himself?
Crosby was a Wicklow man, and he had quite a reputation as a student, a young tearaway I suppose you would say, and he was a scientist and a showman really. He really wanted to entertain, and he'd heard all about the developments in France and England in ballooning, and he wanted to emulate them and become the first man in Ireland to cross the Irish Sea, basically. That was his first aim, to cross the Irish Sea. Now, he never did achieve it. He made 4 attempts, I suppose you could say, and it never happened for him. It happened for someone later on, but not him. So that was it. He really wanted to entertain the public and, I think, make his mark on history.
What is the significance of Ranelagh Gardens from his point of view? He did other experiments here?
Other people, there were other flights here after him, yeah, but it was really just a convenient place, I suppose, to display the balloon first of all in the months before the flight, and then to get lift-off from. So there was another one, the Rotunda Gardens were used sometimes, and his other flights came from other prominent positions around. It was
a very important day for Ireland, Crosby's ascent.
It was a huge day. It was really a spectacle on the likes of which had never been seen before in Dublin. They didn't have events with 20,000 people attending, or 30,000 people. The estimates vary in different papers, so it really was. And the spectacle side of it was entertaining for all levels of society. There was a scientific interest in balloons and what they might achieve, but there was also an interest among the ordinary populace on the streets at the sight of this thing ascending into the heavens to a region which they knew nothing about. Lots of people believed that he was heading off to a certain death.
We're going to try and emulate Crosby's flight. Now, of course, Crosby was flying a hydrogen balloon which took hours and hours to inflate, and but still very weather dependent. The balloon we'll be flying is a hot air balloon. The very first balloon of the Montgolfiers was a hot air balloon, but those days they used straw and rags and stuff to burn, and very, very dangerous. We're using the latest type of equipment, but it's still a hot air balloon. They're still very big. The space is quite tight here compared to what Ranelagh Gardens used to be like, but I think we can just manage it. It really depends on weather. Balloons are very sensitive to the prevails of weather. We need lightish winds, we need the right direction to not take us out over the sea, but we'll do our best, but fingers crossed for the good weather.
And Tom, will it help if all the citizens of Ranelagh come out and wish you and hope and pray that you can take off here?
Well, there's nothing wrong with prayer. Usually with a hot air balloon these days, you need about 3 or 4 people to get it in the air, that's all. But the preparation of the balloon is much quicker. Take about half an hour to get the balloon ready and ready for liftoff. And we have permission from air traffic, which is a very consideration here. That was no consideration whatsoever in Crosby's day, but we have permission to do the flight. We need to carry a transponder so we're picked up on radar, but hopefully if the wind is in the right direction we fly inland, so it's not a problem.